These are my 4 Dynasty Darlings. I love these dudes, man. I want them on all of my fantasy football teams. And I can't start this show without talking about my guy, Garrett Wilson, man. I love Garrett Wilson, have loved Garrett Wilson. This guy's becoming one of my favorite players in all of Dynasty Fantasy Football. If you can buy him on any team, I strongly urge it. I'm trying to buy him everywhere that I can. In fact, I got him this offseason for Kenneth Walker solo, but he plays for the New York Jets. Y'all know that, 22.7 years old, and he's being drafted as the wide receiver 9 in Dynasty Fantasy Football startups. And the thing about Garrett Wilson, man, he is an explosive route runner. I was talking about it earlier. I love these route runners, man. Just an explosive route runner. Creates a ton of space, a ton of separation on intermediate, deep routes. Anything you can draw it up, he's good at it. I just really think the ceiling for him, and I might get crucified for it, but the ceiling for a guy like Garrett Wilson, to me, is that Justin Jefferson, is that Jamar Chase tier. I think that Garrett Wilson could get all the way up there, especially if and when Aaron Rodgers ends up becoming a New York Jet, because Garrett Wilson is going to get unlocked. He is a stud by all means. The full definition of the word, that is Garrett Wilson, man. But I do think that he is being still undervalued. He's being drafted as wide receiver 9, and some would say that is correct. To me, man, like I said, I think the ceiling is up there with Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. So it's just a matter of getting that quarterback upgrade. And I think, we've seen that the deal is supposedly done. Once he gets it, I think we're about to see. But he's coming off of a Rookie of the Year performance, man. I don't think anybody has anything bad that they can say about Garrett Wilson as a prospect. Now, I do want to talk about my second guy, and ignore the jerseys in the back. I promise it's not a home team pick, but it is going to be tight end TJ Hockenson for the Minnesota Vikings. And look, man, he was a Detroit Lion, so you got to give me a little bit of slack because he was a Lion, but now he's a Viking, baby, Skull. And, he's 25.8 years old, coming off his tight end 4. And again, I'm going to get crucified when I say this. I think that he could be in the argument for Dynasty tight end 1. 25 years old, almost 26 years old, is young for tight end still, man. You got to think that you got guys like Travis Kelce. And I know Travis Kelce is an outlier, man, but he's almost 34 years old. I think he is 34 years old right now. And he's still putting up tight end 1 numbers. I think TJ Hockenson is going to get an extension with the Minnesota Vikings. They just saw Adam Thielen depart. TJ Hockenson came in and pretty much gobbled up all of the targets that Adam Thielen was getting anyways. It's a good offense. It's a team that wants to build around him. It's hard to account for TJ Hockenson when you got Justin Jefferson on the other side of the field. And I think TJ Hockenson is going to be a target monster and a red zone monster for fantasy football. So TJ Hockenson, man, he's a stud. Tight end 4 is definitely a buy for me. I want him as my tight end on any of my dynasty teams. And like I said, ignore the purple and yellow in the back. I'm giving you real facts. This is TJ Hockenson, man. He has the potential to be the tight end 1. I'm gonna keep Pitts there for now, but I think there's a real argument. And if TJ goes and does it one more year, I think there really is an argument that TJ could be the tight end 1 in Dynasty Fantasy Football. So let's get into my third guy here, and it's going to be wide receiver Michael Pittman Jr. And I see we do got chat. He says, Hawk is that dude. Absolutely, Bryce. But Michael Pittman Jr. plays for the Indianapolis Colts. Is 25 and a half years old, coming off the board as wide receiver 20. And, I've kind of already talked about it with you guys. I like guys that are good route runners, and Michael Pittman Jr., man, he is a stud route runner. I really do think, let me pull myself back up on here. I really do think that he's underrated. True alpha wide receiver 1 type of talent. I think that, the ceiling is sky high for a guy like Michael Pittman. He is a target monster. He's good in the red zone. He's big. Like, the only thing that I would knock against Michael Pittman, and it's not even a knock on Michael Pittman, But the only thing that I can knock is, hey, we need to get this guy a quarterback. And I think they're going to get him one this year. I mean, the Colts have the third pick, or the Colts have the fourth pick in the draft. I just think that Michael Pittman Jr., man, if you get him a guy like Bryce Young, you get him a guy like Will Levis or Anthony Richardson, and they go in, they're going to be an upgrade to what Matt Ryan was last year. And Michael Pittman Jr., 1,000-yard receiver with Matt Ryan there, and a 1,000-yard receiver when they're trying to give Jonathan Taylor the ball every play. So I think if you get him a real quarterback, and maybe even an upgrade, say one of these rookies turns into a stud, I think Michael Pittman Jr., man, I think he's going to be a alpha, true wide receiver one, top 10 fantasy wide receiver. Like, that really is the ceiling for Michael Pittman Jr. And he's 25, man. He's still young. I want him on every team, and I just took him in a startup, and it was low, man. I feel like I got him really low. And I see we got John in here. John says Garrett Wilson, wide receiver 4 or 5 overall for 2023. And yeah, man, I have to agree with you. Like I said, if Garrett Wilson gets that quarterback upgrade, sky's the ceiling, man. I mean, there really is no limit to where Garrett Wilson can finish. If you told me that Aaron Rodgers comes over and told me that Garrett Wilson is going to finish as the wide receiver 1 in 2023, I wouldn't argue it. I really wouldn't. I think Garrett Wilson is just too damn talented, man. And like I said, I could sit here and be infatuated with Garrett Wilson all day long and pump him up. But we're getting through the list and we want to talk about the guys. So that is my 3 so far. We've talked Garrett Wilson, TJ Hockenson, Michael Pittman, and I want to get into my last guy. And we've already talked about somebody on this team before when War was with us, but I want to talk about wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk for the San Francisco 49ers. He's 25 years old, ADP of 71.2. That's good for wide receiver 30. So a little bit about Brandon Aiyuk, man. He's coming off of a breakout campaign in 2022. And I want to pull it up. I'm pretty sure he was a top 15 fantasy wide receiver. And he was a top 15 fantasy wide receiver. I would argue that he is now proven that he is the most talented wide receiver on the team. Don't kill me, Debo, guys. But I think that Brandon Aiyuk is exactly who they drafted him to be when he was taken in the first round of 2020. There's a theme here, man. Super elite route runner, creates separation like crazy, is able to sink his hips and get around the corners real quick. It's just, man, Brandon Aiyuk is just a stud by all means. And I don't think he's hit his ceiling. We talk about Brandon Aiyuk. Look, I said top 15 fantasy wide receiver, and I said he's being drafted as, remind me what it was. It was wide receiver 30. It's where he's being drafted at. It's a hell of a value, man. I just don't think that this team is going to not get Brandon Aiyuk the ball. I firmly believe that targets are earned, receptions are earned, and Brandon Aiyuk earns it on every damn play, man. He's on the field 24/7. He's good in pass pro. He's really just earned the reps. He's one of Kyle Shanahan's guys at this point. And I remember there was a point in time where we were talking about, Brandon Aiyuk is in the doghouse. But Brandon Aiyuk, he prevailed. All things worked out. And I think Brandon Aiyuk is elite as far as route running goes. And I think he's going to be a stud for fantasy football. And I don't think it really matters who plays quarterback for the 49ers, because we've seen Brandon Aiyuk be good with Brock Purdy. We've seen him be good with Jimmy Garoppolo. We've even seen him flash. I know we didn't get a ton of reps with Trey Lance, but we've seen him be good with Trey Lance. I think they're going to prioritize Brandon Aiyuk, man. I think when push comes to shove, and if they have to make a decision down the road between Brandon Aiyuk and Deebo Samuel, I think they're going to leave the door open for Aiyuk, and they're going to let Deebo Samuel hit the road. And so Brandon Aiyuk, he's a guy I'm buying, man. Still young as hell, elite by all means, and I just want him on every one of my fantasy teams. And we see Warren here. He says, I traded Aiyuk today. I don't know what you got. Hopefully you got a lot, because I think Brandon Aiyuk is a stud, man. And let that be a PSA. If anybody in our leagues wants to come give me Brandon Aiyuk. I will happily buy Brandon Aiyuk for one of these late first round picks, 108, 109, 110. I'll take Brandon Aiyuk for one of them all day, every day. And it said, War says Aiyuk over Samuel. I agree, man. This is the narrative that I will push. And I think Brandon Aiyuk is a stud. So let me just recap my 4 for you guys. Again, my Dynasty Darlings, guys that I love, guys that I want to buy in Dynasty Fantasy Football: Garrett Wilson, TJ Hockenson, Michael Pittman Jr., and Brandon Aiyuk. If you like the content, please, before you hop out of here, I see we got a couple people still left in here. Give the video a like, leave a comment, share it with your friends, do whatever you got to do, because that really does help our channel grow. That does help the YouTube algorithm push our content and really get us to a wider audience. And that's good for everybody, man, because we want to help everybody win their Dynasty Fantasy Football leagues, just like we're helping you guys. So thank you again. I appreciate you for checking it out. If I haven't thanked you enough, there it was. I will see you guys on the next video. Peace out.